Hey, how are you doing today? In this video, I'm going to be asking you to make a couple promises, and you don't have to really make them, but it would be good for everyone if you did. The first promise is to sort of listen to this video, and if you like it, then the second promise is probably one that you're going to want to make. I want you to stop telling yourself that things take time. Now, I don't know if this is you specifically, but there is something that I find that a lot of people say. They're always like, I'm working on it. It's happening, right? But sometimes we're saying that because we're deluding ourselves. Because we think that if we say it enough times, it might actually happen. What happens is when we say to ourselves that things take time, we actually disillusion ourselves, and then we train our minds to actually miss the actual things or the evidence of things actually moving forward. So there is a lot of people that I encounter that will have a love life that maybe is not as good as it should be. Or, and by good, I mean what they want it to be. And I talk to them and they say, well, you know, things take time. And I go, great, they might take time. But is saying that to yourself, is saying that things take time, is that helping you? For everyone that I meet, the answer is fucking no. No. Things don't take time. Sure, they take time to grow. But there's a difference here. And there is a big difference, and I want you to understand this difference when coming to your love life or your life in general, because really it's all the same thing anyway. What we think to ourselves is often what we create, right? And if you tell yourself that things take time, then usually things take time. Now, sure, there are some people out there who also say things happen really quickly, but the answer is really, truly somewhere in between. Because usually what happens is life, from my perspective or what I've seen, is actually meant to go pretty fast, or a lot faster than a lot of people are used to. You know, you want to find a love life or you want a romance, then suddenly you're meant to find it really quickly. You know, because suddenly when you say, I want to find it, your mind is actually tuned to finding it. And this is why I often say that usually, you know, how do I say this? It's like, this is why usually I say that you can't slow the process, this is why I say that you can't speed the process up, but you can slow it down. You can slow it down by worrying about it, and you can slow it down by saying that it takes time. When it doesn't matter, and this is the real key thing here, when it doesn't matter how fast it happens, when it can happen fast or can happen slow, it usually happens in the moment that it's meant to be. Because for some reason, and there's a lot of reasons why this happens, when I talk to people about their love life, right, it'll be like, it's usually like a small realization that is holding them back. Maybe they are too giving. Maybe they think they have to be giving. Maybe they think mummies and daddies look a certain way. Maybe they think that, oh, romance has to happen a certain way. And it's this belief that is making things take time. It's this belief because it wasn't their belief. So when we let that go, when we look at it and we realize, is that working for you or not? What tends to happen is, well, frankly, they let it go and things speed a hell of a lot up. You know, usually within a week they've met someone and it's like, how did this happen? I don't even know. Well, for me, it makes perfect sense. And you will see as well that it does make perfect sense. And maybe you already do see that it does make perfect sense, because as far as your love life is concerned, pretty much if you're single, right, and you're really looking for a relationship, the person that you're really interested in is usually right in front of your face. Like, you might know them, you might not know them, they're probably walking around the streets. It's so interesting to see that, and I love seeing this when I talk to couples and they're like, well, and they'll tell me stories about how they were in the same space or they would think about doing the same things before they even met. And so it's this process that usually happens very quickly. It's like the speed in which we're meant to live life is usually a lot faster and a lot more profound and a lot more in tune of who we are. But if we're thinking of these beliefs that limit us, for example, things take time. Sure, some things take time, right? But does saying it take time make it any better? Probably we say that to ourselves because, well, it's painful. Because there's some pain along the way that we're dealing with that we haven't actually looked at. You know, because it's like, say, for example, you're trying to work out, you're like, well, things take time. Well, if you let that go, what might you do? If you don't worry about things taking time, or you let go of some other stuff around the gym, you might work out more, and then you might actually condense the time that it actually takes, or you wouldn't be so exhausted because you're mentally trying to get yourself ready for something. So it's this mental process that creates fatigue. And this fatigue that we're going through, or that you might experience, have you ever had a time where you're lying in bed going, I should get out of bed? You know, I should get out of bed, I should get out of bed, I should get out of bed. You've already started your day on the wrong foot, because it's in that moment where you set up the day terribly because you've already tried to fight yourself to get out of bed. And then we get used to it. We get used to willpowering our way through life, but really, we didn't have to fucking willpower it. We just had to live in alignment of who the fuck we are. So this is why, and I steal this from a movie, it was called Rat Race, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it right now. It's one of my favorite movies, I grew up on it. But in that movie, one of those characters say, good things take time, but great things happen all at once. And I've seen this time and time again. Someone lets go of something about their business, and bam, they're suddenly like 10 grand richer or something like that the next week. You know, it's like we let go of something to do with love. That's what we do when I work with people one-on-one, and bam, the relationships, they start to see through the matrix. They start to understand things. All the lessons that they should have learned start coming to them because they already had learnt them, but they were dealing with other shit, so they couldn't experience it. So it's an interesting phenomenon. It's a very fascinating phenomenon. I fucking love it. In fact, I've based my whole life around this because I love seeing people go from, oh, it's like life's a certain way or love's a certain way, and bam, like, I didn't realize I had all this potential. So you can hypnotize yourself. You can tell yourself that all of these things are the way they should be, and you can try and delude yourself, or you can fucking live in alignment and like surrender to who the fuck you actually are. What I mean by that is take a look at your goddamn emotions. You're feeling them for a reason. Stop trying to avoid them. If you feel like a failure, starting a business isn't gonna stop you from feeling like a failure. It'll just give you something more to fail on. Only once you've looked at the fail, then all of a sudden things will change. The same thing with fucking your goddamn love life. God damn it. The amount of times I talk to people that are afraid of being alone. So what do? They meet someone who can reject them, or they get into a relationship and feel more alone. When you're in a good state, what happens? You find someone who helps you feel good. When you're feeling bad, what happens? You find someone who helps you feel bad. It always happens. There is no exception to this rule. That's just how it is. So we look at the emotions, then we release them, we let go, and we become who the fuck we're meant to be. So the second promise that if you've watched this video that I would love you to make, and you don't have to make it because I'm not the fucking boss of you, but the second the second promise I want you to make is that you're going to stop telling yourself that things take time. Now, you don't have to tell yourself that things are really quick either, but just stop telling yourself that things take time. Now, if you do this, if you tell yourself that things take time, this is going to be a bit of a jarring thing. You're going to be a bit scared maybe, or you're going to go through some emotions where you recognize that you always were saying things take time, things take time, things take time. But once you stop doing that, you start realizing the processes that things need to happen, and usually things happen a lot quicker. You know, it's sure, you plant a tree, right? And the tree grows at the rate that the tree grows. That's how it is. But I find the people that say things take time are telling themselves things take time, and they spend all this time telling themselves that things take time, so they forget to water the goddamn tree. So that's sort of what I'm getting at here. So I love you. You're amazing. Look after yourself, or don't. Choice is yours. And I'll talk to you soon, if not sooner.